Imagine a day when the past and the future collide. A mysterious group of time travelers appears in the 11th century, during the era of the Crusades. Their world is far beyond anything the people of the Middle Ages could have imagined. No one knows why they came, and they don't say, but they do not arrive empty-handed. They bring with them a weapon that these knights have never seen before, something beyond their wildest dreams: automatic machine guns. The time travelers say little. They hand over the weapons to the Crusaders and vanish as suddenly as they appeared. At first, the Crusaders stare in confusion at these heavy, foreign objects. They resemble neither swords nor spears. But these are warriors. They learn fast. Within days, they figure out how to wield these strange, new tools. From that moment on, history begins to unravel in unexpected ways. Until now, they fought with bows, maces, swords, and shields, but now they wield weapons that can destroy entire armies in seconds. How will the enemy react to this unknown threat? How will these weapons change the course of war and their daily lives? And perhaps most importantly, what consequences will this shift have for the future? The time travelers have planted a seed of change deep in the soil of history. From now on, the past will never be the same. The only question is, what will the Crusaders do with this new power? Because one thing is certain: once the first shots are fired, the world as we know it will never be the same. The Crusaders quickly realize that their traditional methods of warfare are obsolete. The machine guns give them an overwhelming advantage, but to keep winning, they must evolve. First, they reorganize. Large armies break into smaller, more mobile units. Gone are the days of marching in tight, rigid formations. Now they spread out and strike from a distance, using firepower to overwhelm the enemy without risking close combat. The new tactics are fast and brutal. Strike swiftly, then vanish before the enemy can respond. This constant movement leaves their opponents confused and vulnerable. The Crusaders begin to rewrite the rules of war. Brute strength is no longer enough. Now, strategy and firepower decide every battle. With machine guns, they not only defeat enemies, but also create chaos. Fear spreads like wildfire. Opposing soldiers panic as they realize their swords and shields are useless against this storm of bullets. Their formations collapse. Discipline breaks down. Meanwhile, the Crusaders refine their tactics with every skirmish. They experiment, adapt, and innovate. Victory becomes a matter of precision, not numbers. This is no longer medieval warfare. This is the beginning of a tactical revolution. And the Crusaders are leading the charge. Faster, smarter, deadlier than ever before. At first, the Muslim armies are completely baffled by the new threat. War had always been about combat skill, strategy, and courage. But now an invisible and unknown force is decimating their ranks before they can even get close to the enemy. Their soldiers fall one after another, never even seeing where the deadly blow comes from. After the initial chaos, the Muslim leaders quickly realize that traditional warfare is useless against machine guns. Large, orderly armies have become easy targets. So, they begin to redesign their combat approach. They move in smaller, faster, and more flexible units, trying to reach the enemy through alternate routes in order to launch ambushes and neutralize the Crusaders' firepower. At the same time, intelligence gathering begins. Commanders interrogate prisoners and study the weapons left behind on the battlefield to understand how these new tools work. Some daring warriors even volunteer to steal machine guns during surprise raids. The war is no longer just about the strength of weapons. It's about who can adapt faster. The Muslim forces begin to shift toward guerrilla warfare, launching quick and unpredictable attacks. While the Crusaders' weapons are more powerful. The chaos of the battlefield sometimes makes them hard to use effectively. The war rises to an entirely new level. Now it's not just the size of the army or the bravery of the fighters that matters, but who can learn faster, decode the enemy's tactics, and find a way to counter them. Even in real history, the Crusades brought massive casualties on both sides. But in this alternate timeline, modern tactics and weaponry give the Crusaders overwhelming superiority. They capture city after city. The Muslim armies, still relying on traditional methods, are powerless to stop them. As news of the Crusaders' miracle weapon spreads, more European knights and warriors flock to the Holy Land, eager not just to fight, but to witness this new kind of war firsthand. The Crusader forces grow larger, more disciplined, and better supplied by the day. But change is stirring in the Muslim world too. Their leaders begin to rethink everything, and increasingly turn toward technological innovation, desperate to develop or acquire weapons that can match the Crusaders' machine guns. This transformation doesn't stop on the battlefield. It sends shockwaves through politics, religion, society, and the economy. The medieval world is no longer what it was. A technological revolution is underway. One that will reshape economies, redefine the nature of warfare, and permanently alter global power. Alarmed by the growing power of the Crusaders, the rulers of Europe and the Pope convene a grand council. During the assembly, the Pope declares the Crusader order heretical and excommunicates them. Their godless weapons, he proclaims, are tools of the devil, bringing only chaos and destruction to the world. Public sentiment turns swiftly. These weapons are new, unnatural, and terrifying. The people fear the Crusaders more than they support them. The council condemns the Crusaders not just as a threat to the balance of power, but to Christianity itself. No longer holy warriors, the Crusaders are now seen as hellish conquerors, driven by more than the desire to reclaim the Holy Land. Now, they hunger for global domination. In response, the European kingdoms form an alliance to stop them. While most of their forces remain entrenched in the Middle East, European armies strike swiftly at their remaining positions across the continent, driving them back to the edge of Eastern Europe. Recruitment collapses. Sympathizers are hunted down. Supply lines are cut. No more reinforcements come from the West. The excommunication triggers a crisis within the Crusader ranks. Many are deeply religious, and to be condemned by the Pope is shattering. Some see it as betrayal. Others begin to question everything: their mission, their order, even their faith. If the head of the Christian Church stands against them, can they still call themselves Christians? What are they really fighting for? As doubt festers, the European coalition intensifies its campaign. They don't just attack the Crusader armies, they target their workshops, aiming to destroy the very source of their power. After a series of brutal battles, the Crusader order is broken. Their factories are dismantled. Their leaders are captured and executed. Survivors are hunted. Those who worked on the weapons, engineers, blacksmiths, scribes, are rounded up and silenced. The official word is clear. All weapons, documents, and blueprints are destroyed, ensuring that no such force can ever rise again. But behind closed doors, the Church secretly preserves many of these artifacts, locking them away in its most secure archives. Why? Perhaps they see a future use, a last resort, or perhaps something more. Because with such power at its fingertips, the Church could do more than guide the faithful. It could dominate the world, and if it ever chose to mass-produce those weapons, no kingdom or empire could stand against it. In this timeline, the Crusader order falls, but the age of divine conquest may be only beginning. The Crusader order has fallen, but in this alternate timeline, their legacy refuses to die. Their cultural and technological influence reshapes the medieval world in ways that no one can reverse. The knights and generals who once witnessed the terrifying power of firearms now see warfare differently. Guns may be gone, but the lessons remain. Tactics evolve. Mobility and adaptability replace rigid formations. Castles and fortresses are redesigned. Thicker walls, complex bastions, and layered defenses, all built with future, unknown threats in mind. The age of glorious cavalry charges begins to fade. In its place, calculated ambushes, rapid flanking maneuvers, and devastating lightning strikes. Armor changes too. Chainmail and plate are no longer seen as the pinnacle of protection. Weapons masters begin crafting lighter, more agile gear, prioritizing speed over sheer defense. Some even attempt to replicate Crusader weaponry, experimenting with new alloys and mechanisms in hopes of resisting future devastation. Politically, the rise and fall of the Crusader order leaves a lasting scar. European rulers, shaken by how close power came to slipping from their hands, tighten control over their armies. No faction is allowed to become too independent. No order can rise without oversight. The Church, now deeply wary of technological progress, imposes strict limits on innovation. Scientific research becomes a dangerous game. Strange inventions are met with suspicion. Many guilds and thinkers are accused of heresy. Some disappear entirely. But knowledge cannot be so easily erased. A few surviving engineers and craftsmen go underground, preserving what they can of the Crusaders' lost designs. Others, in experimenting with unrelated tools, water pumps, gears, pulleys, inadvertently spark future breakthroughs in mechanics and engineering. Even fields far from war feel the ripple effect. Architects begin constructing more efficient aqueducts and windmills, inspired by lost Crusader innovations. These may seem benign, even mundane, but they carry echoes of a forgotten revolution. The influence stretches beyond science. In art and literature, the Crusaders become myth. Paintings and tapestries show warriors wielding divine fire that explodes from their hands. Poets and philosophers write of an age when men nearly became gods, an age both feared and revered. Over time, these stories blend with legend, shaping how future generations view technology, power, and progress. Though the Crusaders were destroyed, their legacy lingers, etched into the very bones of history. But what if they hadn't been stopped? What if they had conquered all of Europe? How would the world look today? Would the Renaissance still have happened? Would America ever have been discovered? Would the Church have used its new power to dominate the globe? And would we still be living in a new kind of dark age? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Would the Crusaders have shaped a brighter future or a terrifying one? Leave your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your theories. If you enjoyed this what-if scenario and want more alternative history stories, mysterious twists, and thought-provoking timelines, make sure to like this video and subscribe. It really helps us out, and it tells us you want more of this content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.